East and West learning connections.
Helps people of different cultures break barriers and connect with each other.
Okay. So again, leader or manager we're going to look at the concept of Jekyll or Hyde. If you don't know what this sort of phrase means, it's okay. I'll explain it to you. If you do know what this means, this famous book, you might be going, what does that got to do with being a manager? Then you might go, oh, I think I know. So let's talk about that soon. And we're also going to I'm going to play a couple videos for you today. I don't know if I've played many videos for you, but I'm going to play a couple short videos for you today as well. One is on starting a movement, which if you're looking at leadership, management of people and leadership, it's something to think about. And of course, some additional resources. So let's carry on from here. The first question I'd like to start with is leader or manager, what is the same? What is different? As you know, we can create or have some AI create these kind of word maps. And here you see leadership. There's a variety of phrases that are connected to it. Developing people and learning and experience, success, effective, this. I wonder if the word manager's there somewhere. I wonder. And if we look at manager and did the same thing or management, would we see leader or leadership in that? And I think that's interesting question. So what is the difference or what's the same? If anyone would like to comment now, feel free. This is there's no right answer. We're just exploring the topics. But if anyone has any ideas of what they think is the same or what is different about leadership and management, please feel free to unmute now or put something in the comments.
Like if you put these two words together, then there is that sense of comparison where to me, leader would be more of a person who has the vision and lead people towards that vision, where manager give me the vibe of, okay, there is this thing that I need to, or this task or objective that I need to manage and hold a team to achieve that sort of target goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people might come up with something similar like that. So that's sort of looking at what's different, right? We're kind of saying leaders lead with vision, lead teams, lead companies, lead people, and managers manage people, but maybe managers manage processes, manage things, manage tasks and projects. So they're sort of similar, but sort of different. What would be the same? What do you think's the same with leaders and managers?
Yeah, both of them has a power. They can do something. Yeah, they can command the other people do something.
Yeah, very good. Absolutely. They're somewhere near the top of the tree, the pine cone, top cones, as the Russians say. Yeah, exactly. So there's have some sort of power. There's some sort of way they can command or lead or give instructions or get you in trouble for something. Absolutely.
But I think they both need to inspire their team members to, to give the best.
Yeah, I love that because a lot of people think of the word inspire like, well, that's leadership, right? But maybe middle managers also not only need to, but really should be inspiring because they've got to get the workers to do whatever the task that's been handed down. So they've got to inspire them to do it. Very good point. Very good point. And so I'll just carry on. How could I or anyone really provide a solid definition for what is exactly a leader or exactly a manager? It's really hard to do, right? There's a lot of crossover and there's a lot of interpretation depending on your work experience and all that stuff. So this is more of an exploratory question. What's same, what's different? It's not for me to tell you the answer. I guess the easy way is to say, yes, everything that everybody said is correct. So let's move on from here. Steve Jobs said, management is about persuading people to do things they do not want to do, while leadership is about inspiring people to do things they never thought they could. So it's, a very cool, interesting quote from a interesting guy. And maybe there's truth in that, maybe some truth, maybe 100% truth, I'm not sure. But management is about persuading people to do things they do not want to do, while leadership is about inspiring people to do things they never thought they could. So we get this idea of leadership as you're kind of raising the bar and getting people to go further and believe and develop themselves. And management is about getting people to do something they don't want to do. To me, it's a bit negative, the feeling that all the workers don't want to do anything, they need to be, persuaded. So to me, it's a little bit, the first half of this is a little bit negative. I don't really like it. Second half makes more sense to me. But again, this is just Steve's opinion. I thought it'd be an interesting quote to throw out there. And like I said, for me, one of the best quotes I heard was leaders lead people, managers manage things. It's not 100% true, but it gives us an idea of that. Because a leader has to, you got to network, you got to connect with other leaders or other heads of state if you're in politics, or high level people of different organizations, suppliers, vendors, whatever they may be. There's a lot of this kind of real people connection, and managers often are managing people, yes, but within a process, within a project, within a thing. This is how the company works. Think of it like in a company that makes cardboard boxes. It's like, this is how the machines work. We need people to manage the machines so that we get our boxes. It's kind of like you need a manager to manage things. This is Seth Godin, and he's just an out of the box thinker, author. He blogs and writes books on sort of just marketing. He's kind of a big marketing guy, and thought leader, as they say, the phrase. So he has some thoughts on leadership versus management as well. And I put the YouTube link. It's a bit of an older video, but I put the YouTube link there because I will send you the PDFs, and you guys can have the PDFs of my slides. So for now, I'm going to play the video from my computer, and I'm not going to play the full video. The full video is 7 or 8 minutes. I'm just going to play the first couple minutes, but try to listen to how he defines what is leadership and what is management. Like leadership, management is this, leadership is this. Try to focus on that. So I'm going to unplug.
There's practical everyday management. I'm not interested in that. Leadership is not practical and it's not everyday. Management and leadership are totally different things. You think you're being a leader, but you're probably being a manager. Managers figure out what they want done and get people to do it. Managers try to get people to do what they did yesterday, but a little faster and a little cheaper with a few less defects, right? And it probably has a place, but it's not interesting to me. What's essential, what's not happening is leadership. Leadership is about finding the right people, agreeing on where you want to go, and getting out of the way. Leadership means embracing the failure of your people if it leads to growth. Leadership means not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, just knowing it's going to take you where you want to go. And that's really hard, particularly for people who have self-identified as small business people because they're afraid of becoming big. For 6 years, I was near bankruptcy. I was getting SpaghettiOs for dinner and window shopping in a restaurant, 1 week away from missing payroll. So for a little while, I was keeping score of, am I going to go out of business? Once I was done with, am I going to go out of business? What I've kept score of is, did I help somebody accomplish something they didn't think they could? Did I help somebody see the world as it is instead of the way they were hoping it would be? Am I helping someone grow in a quantum way? Not a little, but a lot. Can I get out of their way enough to give them a platform where they do something I never even expected they could pull? That's what I'm hooked on. And I can report after 30 years of doing the same thing, you don't get tired of it.
Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole video. Like I said, if you're interested, it's a longer video. But what I want to do is just summarize in the beginning what he identified as leader versus manager. So what were the points made for leadership and what were the points made for manager? So in the interest of time, I'll just do this for you. So practical everyday manager. Figure out what's to be done and get people to do it, manager. Become more efficient, like faster or cheaper than yesterday, manager. So the first three are manager, and the next are leader. Find the right people, figure out where to go, get out of the way, embrace failure of people if it leads to growth, and accept that you don't know, tomorrow. That's okay. So this is his perspective. You can maybe agree or disagree. It's up to you, of course. I just want to present some different ways of thinking from Steve Jobs or Seth Godin or our own opinions here. But I think it's interesting to ask yourself, what kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of manager do you want to be? Or what kind of leader are you? And what kind of manager are you? So between last lecture, this lecture, next month's lecture, I think we hopefully can give you lots of things to think about. So you can define when you go to work and you show up, what kind of leader are you? And or what kind of manager are you? Is there crossover? Is there separation? That's really up to you to decide and define. I think that's one of the points here. This cartoon's sort of funny. I like it. I'm not bossy. I have skills, leadership skills, understand. And I think that's really cute. Because a leader is a boss, a manager is a boss, but you have to again define how you want to be. If you are a boss, you have to define how you're going to do that, how you're going to lead people, how you're going to manage people, how you're going to boss them if you need to boss them around. So anyway, again, it's not for me to tell you, it's just me to present some ideas and get you to think about it a bit, and define what type of leader or manager you will be. And maybe there's role models in your life. Maybe you remember a really cool boss or teacher for that matter, or uncle or whoever who you thought was really, really inspirational leader or manager. Maybe you can imitate that person to some extent. So there's lots of expert advice and role models out there if you're not sure. But I do think it's important to start thinking about it if you haven't already. What kind of leader am I or do I want to be? What kind of manager am I now and do I want to be in the future? So are you Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde? There was a book by Robert Louis Stevenson called The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm assuming this has been translated worldwide. It's a very famous book. And of course, there's been TV shows and TV movies and a couple Hollywood movies as well. Black and white movies, are probably better. Nothing too modern. But if you're not familiar with the story, let me just tell you the story quickly. The story is about in London, England, there is a Dr. Jekyll, I believe is Henry Jekyll, and he's a doctor, kind of a scientist as well. So he's experimenting, and he decides he's sort of looking for the fountain of youth, sort of trying to figure out if he can create some sort of medicine or concoction to help him or anybody, fight aging, right? So want to be kind of stronger and healthier and vibrant and vigorous. And basically what happens is he kind of makes a mistake and he creates this type of medicine that turns someone into a very aggressive person, a very dangerous, aggressive person with strength and will to match it. And so what happens in the story is that there's these crimes happening every few nights. This ugly, hideous man is beating up people and robbing old ladies and whatever. And he becomes known as Mr. Hyde. And at the end of the book, you find out that it's the same person. Dr. Jekyll is drinking the potion and he turns into Mr. Hyde, goes out in the streets and causes havoc and comes back, and they have to deal with that. So if you have never read the book, I do encourage you to read it or see a movie. It is fun, even though I've told you the plot. It's a very interesting book. I read it before. It was good. But how does this connect with leadership and management? Well, and this is also inspired by one of the questions that Ellen sent me. Entrepreneurs and managers, they get to where they're going to get to by trusting themselves and by being confident in their actions. So in other words, you've got yourself to this level, right? Now you're middle management, now you're upper management. You know, your skills, your education, your experience, your way of doing things, your way of leadership, your way of management has got you here, you know? And now maybe you've got more responsibilities, maybe you've got more people to manage, or maybe you're getting opportunities to go up. And other people are around you and you're telling them what to do because you want your team to be successful, you want your department to be successful, and you're a manager. But they're not doing it right, you know? Like, who are they? Oh, these young kids are not doing it right, or these old people should have retired before. Like, oh, this person doesn't know, or that person's from this country, and that person's from, it's such a mess at the office. And why can't they be more like me? This is kind of your internal dialogue, perhaps. It's like, you know, I know what I'm doing. That's why I'm the manager. That's why I'm the leader. I'm going to tell them, like, hey, don't do it that way. Do it this way. Do it my way. And then it becomes kind of my way or the highway. It's like, hey, do it my way. Come on now. I taught you. This is what I don't care what you learned at school. I don't care what you did at the other company. Do it the way I told you. So this, my friends, is when the entrepreneur or the manager becomes this question of, are you Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde? Dr. Jekyll is the smart, intelligent person that got you there, that has real skills, that has real intelligence to do the job. That's Dr. Jekyll. But the Mr. Hyde is the person who's a micromanager, who is aggressively forcing people to do it one way, only one way, because that's what you think is the only way to do it, because it made success for you, it's going to do it for them. But the problem is many people who come from different backgrounds, and by backgrounds, I don't just mean country, I mean different companies, different experiences, different education backgrounds, whatever. They've got different ways of doing it. And so they may not fit into your criteria of what you believe is the one true way to be successful, or to manage the project, or to have a positive outcome for the project. And then you get these butting of heads. So you may become Mr. Hyde, or Miss Hyde, if it's a female, of course, and you are aggressive with them, or impatient with them, or trying to coach them on to be more like you. And they may resent you for it. And in the end of all, you may be confused why they're complaining about you, or not listening to you, or don't listen to you in the meetings, and you don't understand why, because all you're trying to do is help them be successful, but they're just not appreciating you. So it could be connected to this. So I hope that you take this imagery and story seriously. And it's important that any leader, again, manager, entrepreneur, whatever, self-evaluates their behaviors and their actions. Am I being flexible or not? Am I considering other options or not? Am I suggesting there's really only one way to do this thing or not? Is it a real math science thing, or is there some flexibility here that I'm missing? And that's, you know, we say managers manage processes. So once again, if you think you've got the best way to do it, you're telling everybody do it that way. How will any new ideas come about? How will the idea of Kaizen, right? The Japanese idea, Kaizen, continuous improvement. No one can do that if you don't allow their voices. The whole point of continuous improvement is that you have to get suggestions from all levels of your organization. So if you're not allowing people to speak, then you're never going to know if there's a more efficient way or better way to do something. So as a manager, that can be problematic, because if your way is not working 100%, you've given people no option. So should we be confident in our skills, education, experience that has got us this far? Yes, absolutely. But you have to be practically confident. You have to be practical about it. You have to understand that life is for learning, and we never stop learning. And there's never really any true experts ever in anything, because there's always something more to learn. And maybe we need to hear other people's opinions. And if we are proven right, that's fine. We had a discussion. Our way is still superior. Great. But at least the person did not feel denied or ignored. You allowed them to have that conversation. We've talked a little bit about this before when we talk about managing conflict in the boardroom and stuff like that. It's similar, but again, it comes down to your self-assessment of how good, how right you think you are or not. And this idea of micromanagement. Are you micromanaging people to the point where you're creating a negativity, and that's going to make your job really, really difficult. Are there any questions or people want to share any stories about this topic of Jekyll and Hyde management since we're here? Or Ellen, did you want to go further on the question you emailed me?
Rick, but while I'm listening to you, I think for a aggressive type of manager, this can be like a really right to this type of people. For another type, I would say if they are more introvert or coming from a more shy culture, they might face another problem. So they do not seem to be, have that authority enough to get things done.
Mhm.
So that's what I heard from quite some Asian managers. They think they might be too soft.
Mm.
So, their team members do not, they would say, "Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Can I, do this instead of that?" They will have a lot of um, uh, conditions that they want to meet. But I heard, one manager, she said, "No, you need to say no to this kind of requests. Otherwise, you can't get anything done."
Right. Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
So Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde or Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Shy, that's a different issue where the person is, thinks they're right, but they're just shy to voice it. They don't stand up for themselves. They're not self-assured, and that's going to be a challenge at work to get people to follow them because they're not being a strong enough voice.
Yeah.
That is definitely something to be aware of. And it's not about loud and shouting, right? When we talk about assertive and self-confident, it doesn't mean we have to be loud. It doesn't mean we have to be bossy. We can still be calm and controlled and still be assertive. So that is something that people should feel relief in, that you don't have to be the loudest one in the room to be the strongest. You can still be sure of what you're talking about and present yourself with good communication skills. But if you're shy to the point where you don't speak up, that's a different issue, where you don't speak up or you don't challenge or you don't defend or you don't stand up for what you think is right. Then that's something we have to be careful of, because then how will anyone know how smart you are or how good your ideas are or your suggestions if you don't give them?
Yeah, or not the shy. Shy might not be the right word. So they might be too considerate. They might be too considerate of what other people are
Right,
thinking or
right,
wanting. They
right.
want, please everybody. So
I yeah, I have I totally understand what Yang you just mentioned, and I have another perspective recently, I guess, when I'm trying to do some like meditation and stuff, and I feel like we sort of need to have that awareness of what is driving us to do certain things. Is it fear? Fear of people retaliate or people getting aggressive on us, that making us doing things that accommodates others. I was listening to some, I can't remember, thing, is that whenever you find out like your inner, I guess, motivation is fear, then I guess that's not a good thing. Like if that's what's driving you to do the behavior, then it's time for you to probably figure out a way to get that out of your system, or at least at the moment for whatever you're doing or decision making, you're not making that decision or behave in a certain way out of fear, but I guess you need to understand what the real situation is and decide from what the actual situation is instead of the fear. That's kind of my point of view.
Fear is a survival mechanism. Fear keeps you alive. I often talk about the neuroscience of body language and things like this, and how we can't ignore that we are you know, an organism that does what it does to survive in the world. And healthy fear is good fear. Like, you know, if you see fins in the water, maybe don't jump in, right? That's a healthy fear. It's going to keep you alive. So if someone has some fear at work, it might be good that that is coming to their attention, that they're considering it, that they're looking at things from all sides before they jump in. It could be a toxic work environment. It could be unrealistic expectations. It could be bad management. So it's good to look at everything. But absolutely, we don't want the fear to hold us back from doing anything. We certainly want to do something. Is that making our voice heard? Is that having a private meeting with our boss to discuss certain things? Is it to get some feedback from the people that we're managing? Is there something we can do for sure? So definitely we don't want to be the quote unquote shy person that never says anything and never gets noticed. And we also don't want to be the person that has zero fear and just, you know, jumps into things feet first and hopes for the best. You've got to sort of manage your expectations and be aware, and get feedback. So I think self-assessment and feedback are very important, but definitely finding your voice to say, I belong here. I've been hired for a reason. I have skills, education, experience that match this position. I'm allowed to have my opinions and thoughts based on my experience. I'm allowed to share and discuss them with people, my peers or my team or my management. I think that's something that some people miss, is they, even though they've been working there for like 5 years and have a master's degree and this and that, they're like, oh, I'm too shy to say something to my boss. I'm like, why? Like you probably have more experience than your boss. I'm sure it's not going to hurt to have a conversation. So finding the right communication skills to have the right conversations is very important for sure. Yeah, interesting topic.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, just one more comment and then back to the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I have never heard of this, so thanks for letting me know. I'm gonna look for the book. But I do think there are I think it's a tendency for a lot of people, especially people who become a manager out of a professional job because they are excellent at what they're doing. And it is something I've seen this as well. It's not that they are aggressive, but it's because they believe that's the right way to do things. So I think your talk actually made me think about this. It's like trying to train ourselves to have a different frame of ways to look at things.
Yeah, it's not easy. Communication is self-expression, it's self-analysis, like it's being brave to share ideas or ask questions that may be uncomfortable. Like there's reasons why people don't do it, right? There's reasons why people just kind of stay quiet and do your job and, you know, go home with your paycheck, which is absolutely fine if that's comfortable and that's what you want. But if people want to be managers and leaders, or if they have been promoted, then there's responsibility now because people are looking up to you for direction and for motivation and they're looking at you as a role model. So in that regard, you have to say to yourself, hey, I earned this position. I have a voice, I have an opinion. I may not always be right, but I do have the right to put it forth, right? To say it in meetings or to say it privately. And I think that's the lesson I want everybody to feel, is that you have a right and a responsibility to share your methods and your ways because you are in a leadership position. And the culture of well, I'm from a culture where we don't do this, and well, I'm from a culture where we don't do that. Yes, but if you've been here for longer than 6 months, then how long are we going to use that excuse? And that's another thing to ask yourself too, right? It's like we're not talking about somebody who's, here for a month, or like an overseas exchange manager for a month. That's different. We're talking about people that live here, or even some even born here or came over here very young. You can look around, you can see the way the operating method is for business here, right? And everybody's got their own cultures, and they're fun to explore, and I love talking about them too. But the question is, what is the operational functional culture at that office? So if I went and worked for a company that was 80% Chinese management, I would also have to consider that, right? It's, even though it's a Canadian company, but let's say 80% of the management is Chinese, I would have to consider that there might be some things that are sort of done Chinese style. Okay, no problem. I'm choosing to work there. I'm being hired there. There's, maybe there's some, push and shove, but we'll get there. So I don't know. Maybe my attitude's a bit, maybe it sounds like I'm too easygoing, or, but I think that's useful, to be flexible and to be open-minded, but still be confident. That's the thing. You have to still believe in your skills, education, experience that brought you to that position. If some Chinese company hires me, there must be something they liked in my resume or my interview. There must be something there that they're asking, and they're not asking me to become Chinese, because that's impossible, right? So that must mean they want me to be me. I have to be sensitive and aware, and the more I can understand Chinese communication, the better I'll do. But at the end of the day, I've been hired for me. And so you have to think the other way around, right? It's like you're being hired, or you've applied and you've got this position, great, then do what you're supposed to do based on everything. And it's okay to be a little bit shyer at times, because I don't really like interrupting people, or, well, that's not really my style to be loud. I agree with that, actually. I wish more people agreed with that, to be honest with you. But at the same time, do what you got to do to make sure you're a good manager, good leader. And to the point of this slide, don't be a Mr. Hyde. That would be the position here. So when you're a new manager, Ellen wanted me to kind of create do's and don'ts. I'm sort of doing it indirectly with some of the things I'm teaching. What kind of leader manager do you want to be? Make sure that you're not a Mr. Hyde. That's a don't, obviously. I want to share a funny little story. I wasn't a leader, but I'll just tell you a funny little story. My first office job in Mississauga, when I was 25, 26 years old, there was a couple young people like myself, but most of them were older, of course. And one day, me and this young lady named, I don't remember her name right now, we had lunch, and she was in a different department, and we had lunch together, and we started talking about how the communication between our departments should be better, should flow better. And so at lunchtime, we got inspired, just the two of us, to promote this idea. So when we went back to the office, she talked to her manager, I talked to mine, but I don't think we did that. I think we just sent a joint email out to everybody in the office, kind of saying, hey, like, we've decided that there needs to be better communication between Department A and Department B. And here's some, top 5 tips that we suggest that can make everyone, have better communication. Anyway, you can imagine the reaction we got from all these older, seasoned people who have been in the industry longer than us and in the office longer than us. It was crickets, right? It was like, silence. It was like nobody responded. It was just like, and then we're like, oh no, like what happened? And it wasn't my manager, but it was a senior guy in my department named John. He came to me privately. He's a very nice guy. He said, Rick, it's like, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but there's a way to do things, and that ain't it, basically. And so it was interesting, because it was in the best of intentions, right? Sometimes new people have new ideas. This is what I was saying earlier about Kaizen. And so me and this young lady were trying to present new ideas that would only benefit the company from our point of view. But we both got mild backlash. We did not get any trouble. We did not get any trouble. We just got silent treatment and a little bit of backlash. And then my manager finally talked to me, and very supportively said like, I appreciate what you're doing. You've got some good points in there, but it has to be done a different way. And her manager talked to her that way. And eventually there were some implementations of the ideas. So in the end, it was good to talk about it, and it was good to have maybe some fresh perspective. It just, we did it the wrong way. But like I said, we didn't lose our jobs. We didn't get in trouble. It was just, they took our information and reformatted it to be kind of a newsletter from the top down to say, here's some suggestions. So Ellen, you sent me an email with something similar story to this kind of idea of like kind of what to do at the when you're new and you might have an initiative or have an idea and you try it and maybe it backfires, or you're not sure whether you should do something because you're a new manager. I wasn't even a manager, and I tried to do something new. Spirit was good, the way was wrong. So what I should have done is obviously spoken to my manager or senior person on the team and just said, I've got this idea, or her and I are talking, we've got this idea. What do you think first? And that's not about that person being older or wiser than me. It's about understanding the hierarchy, where I was in the company. I was new. I should have talked to somebody and still get the idea implemented, which is the goal. And we did. So if you have a good idea, definitely you have the right to suggest it, to talk about it first before you make it public, would be my suggestion. Don't stand in the middle of the office and announce it. Don't send an email to everybody without talking to management first. Make sense? Any questions?
Right. So that is interesting, Rick, because you did grow up here, but it is still adjustment for you in a work environment to figure out what is the appropriate approach to do certain things. So that is lesson number one from your story. I think and that's encouraging because sometimes we think, oh, it's just because we didn't grow up here and born here that we didn't know. And I guess the next thing is, and actually tie to the fear theory is like, what was your mental process, I guess, after that incident? Like, did you say, oh, I'm not going to say anything about this anymore, just keep quiet? Or maybe as your seniors and manager approach you, they're like, okay, here is what I meant and what I would like to do. Like, how do you get out of that sort of initial awkward situation?
Well, my confidence got me into the situation, right? The confidence in feeling that what I was suggesting, as well as with this other lady, was correct information. So the confidence got me into the situation. I was shocked at the lack of response. I was embarrassed to some extent, obviously. However, I feel that my senior, John, and my manager, I thought they did a great job of being very supportive. Both of them in their own way telling me, we appreciate what you're trying to do. You've got some good points. It's just there's a different way to do it, and then we'll do it. So I really felt in the end of all that it was okay and it was worth it. It just, I learned a lesson that there's a way to do it. So what I learned was that yes, anybody can implement suggestions, but it's just got to be done a certain way. So that's what I learned. It wasn't that after that incident, I felt like I should never say anything again. No, because my management was very careful with me. Had they come down really hard on me, then the result would have been, I don't want to say anything anymore. But they weren't. They were very supportive and encouraging, just saying, this is how you do it. So it was good. So for anyone out there who's a manager or leader, try to remember that, right? Somebody may say something catches you off guard, or maybe you feel it's, incorrect or whatever, but maybe be gentle with them and take the spirit of it, which is they're trying to help, they're trying to improve and have more efficiency or improvement at the office. That's the spirit of the conversation, of the comment. And with that in mind, then talk to them in a way that promotes them to be not shy to do it again, but just say, this is how we do it here. I think that's the process that you're looking to teach.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice. I think not look at these things positively, like if you are a manager, rather than saying, well, what are you? Why are you saying this? And then that will actually create a positive I guess, effect on both the employee and the manager, because you're able to recognize the good intention out of your team.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're a manager or leader right now, there's nothing to stop you from creating a bit of a bullet point guideline for your team if they want to give suggestions. So if you don't have something formal right now at the company for how suggestions can get up to you, like let's say rise to the top, you can create a very simple, memo. Doesn't have to be formal. A couple bullet points saying, we encourage everyone's opinion on something. If you have a different idea, you feel there's a way to be more efficient, this is the process, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's almost like an employee suggestion box, right? Which you literally can have. You can still literally have a suggestion box at work, which people anonymously drop off a suggestion, or you can do it more, modern. So again, it's up for management to tell people how they want to receive information, right? Either we don't want to hear your opinion. No, thank you. I didn't ask you. That could be the message, right? Or it could be, we'd love to hear your suggestions. Here's how it's done. There's your 2 choices. Okay, so moving on for now, I want to play a second video. This is a very short video. This is a TED Talk, but it's like a 2-minute TED Talk. And this is old. Maybe you haven't seen it, maybe you have, but it's called How to Start a Movement. This is important when you're thinking about leadership and management, especially when you're new and you're thinking about how do I get people to follow my advice, follow my lead, do what I do what I say, all that stuff. So it's a funny video to explore this idea of getting people to follow you. So please listen. I'll unplug again. And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, at TED, we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd, and the crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So over the next minute, you'll see all of the those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over-glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that, TED. Thanks.
Okay, so Okay. So it's a very short video. And again, the link is there if you want to find it on YouTube and watch it again. But the video at first looks like, okay, this is kind of like, teenagers, acting silly at a music festival or something. But what the man is saying, Derek is saying, is that a lot of people focus on the first person that started something and they're the leader, quote unquote. They get all the attention. But what he really said was that if no one joined that movement, there is no movement. You are a lone nut. You're just like crazy person by yourself. But the fact that someone joined that movement, the second person is really the leader. And then third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth. So for business, you have to remember that if you want any ideas to be implemented, you need support. This is what I would say is the lesson from this video, is that as a leader, you need a right-hand man, as the phrase goes. You need supporters, you need people to back you up, you need people to support you immediately. And maybe there's times when you have to support someone else in the office because they have an initiative, they have a movement of some kind, they have an idea, they have a new rule or something. And by you backing them up, it creates momentum to integrate that new thing. So leadership feels like a lonely business because you think of one person at the top of the pyramid, but a very important part of it is getting support. And if you can have consistent support from one or two people or three or whatever it might be, that's really going to help you be more effective and productive at work. It means that when you implement things, you'll immediately have traction, have support, right? So, but you may have to do something for them too, maybe. I mean, if you're just a genius and they just love to follow you because you're brilliant, that's even better. If you've got someone who just loves your management style and wants to support you no matter what, that honestly, that is really good. I'm not even joking. But at the same time, if it's like peer-to-peer, manager to manager, you may have to do them a favor, they do you a favor. It could be that situation. You go back to Guanxi and all that stuff, but the idea is that you can't do things on your own. You need support. So please consider that when you are thinking of, as a new manager, what will my initiatives be? What am I going to do differently here? How do I want to do this? How do I want to put my stamp on things? Think about who can support you and how quickly they can support you so that you can get momentum and traction. Okay. As always, I just want to show you that I do have a YouTube channel that has this free course, Key Communication Skills for Managers, where we touch on verbal and nonverbal communication skills and feedback, conflict. A lot of things we talk about in this course, there's short videos to support it. And our agenda is completed. We did talk about the ideas leader and manager, what's same, what's different. And the homework is defining what kind of leader are you and do you want to make any changes? And what kind of manager are you and do you want to make any changes? We looked at the concept of Jekyll and Hyde, that our brilliance gets us somewhere, but we do have to be careful not to become a micromanager, to allow people to have their own style, but still give guidance. We looked at the concept of starting a movement from a leadership point of view, that a leader with no one to follow them is a lone nut, that you still need support for your ideas, for your implementations, and that you may have to reciprocate. And so these are some of the things that I think a new leader has to consider, among many other hundreds of things, but I think this is a good start for today. So I hope it's been interesting for you. As always, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them now, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email, or you can send Ellen the email. Either way is fine, and I'm happy to answer any questions or get prepared for next month's session. So thank you very much, and I turn it back over to Ellen.
Thank you so much, Rick. It is 1:03. Rick, I just want to make sure you have time to stick around for questions.
No problem. Yep,
Okay.
today I do.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Anyone has questions for Rick? This precious time that we can get. I do have, like I mentioned at the beginning, I did get a question from Peng that he want me to ask. I guess from practical sense or maybe philosophical sense, like is doing performance reviews, and then some of the team members would rank like all their objectives or performances as high. And then, of course, as a manager, you wouldn't rank every single thing high for, I guess, any of your team members. But what is the best way to communicate that? I guess in the practical sense, or maybe philosophically, like what is to do, like what to do with this gap between people's self-assessment versus someone else or your manager's view of someone's assessment?
Well, performance reviews are a bit of a game, meaning that they're sort of implemented from the top that we have to do performance reviews, whether it's once every 3 months, 6 months, once a year. So it is a bit of a game. And so people learn the rules and the loopholes of the game. In some companies, nobody takes it seriously. It's just something that has to be done. So as you say, employees or whoever will rank themselves high, knowing that someone else will bring them down lower, and then you meet somewhere in the middle. So all of that stuff is very useless. Any type of insincere feedback is useless. Any type of general feedback is useless. That's why people are frustrated with these things when they're done that way. The best way to do it is for the manager to have their notes, but then during the conversation, ask the person, whether that person's a manager or employee, say, what do you think first? Like that self-assessment first. This is the best way to do it. I've talked about this before, because when the person says, here's my self-assessment, or here's how I answer these questions first, then you can see if there's a gap between what you think and what they think. If there's no gap or minimal gap, ignore it. It's great. Great. If there's a big gap between how they see themselves and how you, the company, see them, that's the thing that has to be addressed. And then you go in with very specific advice. Very specific advice. If you're into goal setting, it's like 1 to 3 things on that issue for the next year to work on. So I hearken this back to when people get feedback that my manager says I have to work on my communication skills. And my first question to them is, which communication skills? Like there's so many. I don't know if they just said communication skills. Well, that's not very useful. So can you go back and politely try to find out a little bit more details, and then you can have something to work with on improving. So it's the same thing. If you're a manager, don't do that to somebody else. Don't give some general feedback that is useless to them. Look for something very specific. If you want to give positive feedback, same thing. Don't just say, hey, you're doing a great job, we love you. I mean, you can say that, but then afterwards say, especially this, and we really noticed that, and we really liked how you handled that. Keep that up. And then when it comes to the so-called negative stuff, it's like, we noticed in your self-assessment on this category, you identified it as A. We sort of feel it's over here. Let's talk about that. What we'd like to see is, first of all, that you understand what we want, and then let's see if we can roadmap a plan to get there. This is the best way to do it, but does it always happen this way? No, because some companies are old school, or they're doing it a weird way, or they're doing it for formality. There are some managers who will give you constant feedback, and they're great managers, but as part of their duties, they have to do a once-a-year review. So it's like, well, I've already given you feedback like every few weeks anyway along the year, but okay, let me just try to summarize this. So it's like, okay, like it doesn't really matter, because what's more important is that weekly or monthly interaction. So I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly, but I'm trying to give a perspective of, if you're a manager, how to do it, and if you're not a manager, how to see it. And the most important thing is to get specific advice on what to do to improve. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That is helpful. To be specific, I think I find that helpful, because if it leaves to the general comments, it leaves everybody guessing, right? It's like, oh, what exactly is that?
Yeah.
Maybe I should do this, or so, and then it doesn't really get anywhere.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else has questions?
Rick, when you talked about what you did when you were young, I thought of this question. So if you have some new idea or different opinion, like I think especially different opinion, and it, to whom you would like to share or to talk about it, to your peers or to everybody involved in the issue that you have an opinion on, or just like very privately with your manager?
I think people will naturally talk to whoever they trust. So I don't think it's about the ranking at the company. I think it's about who you trust, because so it could be a peer, it could be the mailman, it could be the CEO of the company. It depends. So whoever you trust is who you would talk to first. And then they would give you some advice, and then you would decide to follow that advice or not. That's what I think. If I was to give more formal suggestion, like, well, if you have a suggestion, you must, talk to your direct report first, then you must talk to this. I don't think people are going to listen. I think people talk to people who they trust. And they're not going to get in trouble. They're not going to get made fun of. That's what's going to happen. In my story, there was very few young people at that time. Like I said, and so it was natural. Sandra, that's her name. Sandra and I were having lunch and we were hanging out a bit, and then we start chatting and then sharing our experiences from different departments, same office, but different departments. And that's how it came about there. So you were peers. We were peers. But in the end of all, I got to really, really like my manager at that job. So future things coming forward, I was very comfortable to talk to my manager. She was great. So that's also encouraged trust. And you're like, okay, I can talk to my manager. So yeah, I think it depends who you trust is who you'll talk to.
Thank you.
Hey, that was great advice. All right, I guess if no other questions, we're good for today. Thank you so much again, Rick. Next month would be our last session. Maybe I'll also conjure up some review of what happened this year as well. And yeah, thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Have a good weekend. Go Jays, go.
Thank you.